Sorry for bad English. Where were you when Cosmo I may have lost? I was at house eating Dorito when phone ring. Cosmo is Joba! That about sums up my reaction to the twist ending between the howling fighting spirit and the king of stranglers. Needless to say, it pissed me off. I thought this surprise twist was nonsensical because Cosmo didn't utilize techniques that he showcased in Kengen Ashura. Techniques that might have helped him end the match sooner or even prevent his demise. However, I wouldn't be calling this a perfect twist if it didn't make complete sense, because in this fight, Cosmo's actions from beginning to end stays true to the character, and thus the twist remains faithful to the story and doesn't actively contradict it in any fashion. In the beginning of the match, Cosmo decided to dislocate Paing's shoulder blade, and to do so, he set up his attack multiple moves in advance, starting with 2 submission attempts, with the first tackle being a bluff to set up a second tackle, which took Paing by surprise. From there, Cosmo pushed his opponent to the edge of the arena where, in the best case scenario, Cosmo would win via ring out, or in the worst scenario, would be stopped in his tracks and be forced to weather his opponent's blows, but would be in a better position to dislocate his opponent's bones. This was the true depth of Cosmo's plan because, in the past, he has come up with roundabout strategies like this, which involve putting himself at a disadvantage in order to lure his opponent in and counterattack, like when he challenged Akoya to a battle of blows, where he was forced to weather his opponent's attacks in order to make his opponent more likely to throw a finishing move, where he could then counter with the zone, Cosmo's signature technique that requires the opponent to be exclusively focused on their attack to execute chokeholds from an opponent's blind spot. Furthermore, despite not being a masochist, he will take blows if it means he has a chance of breaking his opponent's bones, like the little gremlin that he is, or to set up his zone many moves in advance to defeat his opponent, like what he tried to do against Tokita Oma after he had obtained foresight. Therefore, despite ultimately failing, Cosmo's opening strategy against Paing is not only true to his character's portrayal, but a demonstration of his foresight. Following his failed opening gambit, Cosmo decided to mount his opponent, and just like before, he set up his attack multiple moves in advance by dodging Paing's strikes and finding an opening to land an elbow which obstructed his opponent's vision by drawing his blood. With his vision compromised, Paing had to wait for Cosmo to come closer until he could see his next move, which was a tackle, prompting Paing to strike using a knee, leaving his other leg open for Cosmo's next move, a foot sweep, disrupting his opponent's balance and enabling Cosmo to initiate his attack. Once again, demonstrating Cosmo's roundabout strategies, along with his foresight which enables him to execute said strategy. After bringing the match into the mount position, Cosmo struck his opponent repeatedly for the purpose of finding an opportunity to initiate a chokehold. That was, until his fist broke after Paing performed a well-timed headbutt with his indestructible skull, giving the gremlin a taste of his own medicine and limiting his movements to strictly grappling techniques. Following his successful counter, Paing continued to strike Cosmo in order to force the match back onto solid footing. However, his strikes gave Cosmo the opportunity to perform a Kimura, which merely laid the groundwork for a chokehold, once again reinforcing Cosmo's fight methodology and strategies that he used in the past, along with, of course, the expectation that Cosmo would come out the victor. But as you all are aware, Paing picked Cosmo's bitch ass up and slammed him into the ground. Although everybody expected Paing's last desperate attack to backfire, because his head would be the first to make contact with the ground, and considering that he would face the full brunt of an impact powered by the combined weight of two individuals, everybody, and I should assume Cosmo as well because he didn't disengage his hold, was convinced that Paing would knock himself out. However, that was not the case because through sheer determination, he exceeded everyone's expectations and survived, with the recoil of the attack enabling Paing to not only break out of Cosmo's hold, but create an opportunity to land a priceless finishing move to defeat his dismayed opponent. This outcome, which I hate to admit, is consistent with what we know about Cosmo, especially considering how he is prone to having his foresight work against him when confronted with unknown techniques, or when he falls for his opponent's bait when they figure out his roundabout plan and take advantage of his expectations rather than simply disrupting it. Furthermore, Cosmo would be unwilling to set up the zone multiple moves in advance, because doing so would require him to weather his opponent's blows until his opponent exclusively focused on their attack, which was unlikely considering that Paing no longer fought like a kamikaze and was reluctant to engage with his opponent outside of situations where there was enough distance between them for strikes to be viable. Although Paing did throw a finishing move after his headbutt succeeded in freeing him from his opponent's hold, Cosmo wasn't capable of capitalizing on it with the zone because his opponent exceeded his expectations and as such, compromised his reflexes and left him vulnerable. Additionally, Cosmo would never disengage a perfect chokehold because, it's self-explanatory. But considering his other strategy of depleting his opponent's stamina by countering his opponent's movements by disengaging and reinitiating his mount, Cosmo would be reluctant to do that because he is participating in a tournament where he would want to conserve as much of his stamina as possible, and that such a strategy would only be effective later in the tournament when his opponents would have less of their stamina remaining. Therefore, considering that there exists a reason for why Cosmo did the things that he did, with those reasons being established in past events, Sandrovich wrote a perfect twist which surpassed our expectations, not by making fools out of perceptive readers by actively contradicting elements present in his story, but rather by remaining faithful to them and exercising his creativity in such a way that it both respects the past and creates something that is new and exciting, a task that can only be accomplished by a good writer. Thank you for watching. Compared to the last video, this one is one of the quicker videos that I have made because good YouTubers are capable of getting to the point really quickly. But of course, I'll be sure to do better. Anyways, this was the cyborg whale named after Italian cheese and a dessert item. Goodbye.